Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome back to another video. Today's video I'm so excited for because I'm going to be chatting through my September TBR. I'm not gonna lie, putting together this TBR, I got giddy. I am so excited to read every single book I put on this TBR. I've also left some space for some wild card new releases to add on as well. A lot of these books I've literally been saving all year to read during this time of year, which we all know is my fall delusion era. I obviously have some fantasy reads, but I also have so many moody books just perfect for the season, and I cannot wait. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into the TBR. The first book I have on my TBR for this month is actually the September read for my Cozy Seasons book club. And if you didn't know, I have created a book club, which I'll have linked down below if you want to learn more. But the book we selected for the month of September is A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. I love T. Kingfisher so much. All of her books, long, short, just land for me every single time. This is this author's newest release, and I have been dying to pick it up ever since it came out. But now that it's officially September, I can, because I can read it alongside the book club. This is a Brothers Grimm The Goose Girl fairy tale retelling, and all of those things definitely call out to me. T. Kingfisher just has such an incredible ability in taking like well-known fairy tales and stories, sort of turning them on their head with such a beautiful lyrical prose, and then also adding such human characters that you can root for. Just what she does in all of her books, I just tend to enjoy immensely. But as I said, this is a fairy tale retelling following our main character who lives in a home with her mother, and she knows that how she's grown up is very unusual. She knows that she should be allowed to have privacy and not have all of the doors on her house taken off. She knows that she should be able to mingle, make friends with the townsfolk in the area that she lives, and not be isolated from everyone by her mom. She also knows that her mother's changeable attitude is abnormal. The only freedom that our main character gets on a regular basis is the time she spends riding her horse in the wilderness. However, though, after an unexpected event happens in the town that she lives, she's forced to flee with her mother in the middle of the night, and her mother takes her to this faraway estate where they actually move into alongside another girl and the lord that oversees the castle itself. And our main character begins to realize that her mother has a plan that is not so benign, and it's sort of up to her to stop her. I truly cannot wait to read this book, and I really can't wait to read it with you guys, as I know so many of y'all are T. Kingfisher fans just like me, so I think it's going to be so much fun. But this is the first book that's on my TBR for this month. Slightly off the ambiance theme of the TBR of this month, but still a book I'm so looking forward to picking up, is Leviathan Falls by James S.A. Corey. This is the 9th and final book to the Expanse series. I'm so excited that I am on the tail end, the final and concluding novel of this series I've now been reading for years. I've really loved every single installment, and I feel like every book has also gotten better and better and better. I'm truly on the edge of my seat as well to see how the plot is going to wrap up with this concluding novel. This is definitely not a series that is slowed down in its final chapters. In fact, I feel like things have only gotten more intense and more interesting. Just the ability that the authors have had to keep this series fresh is just so exciting. But if you're not familiar, the Expanse series is a space opera tale centering a huge cast of characters, but primarily following one of our main characters, James Holden, who is a ship captain. In the beginning of book 1, him and his crew basically stumble upon a piece of ancient alien technology, sort of upending the galaxy as we know it. This book is set in sort of a near future reality where humanity has gone beyond the reaches of Earth, and now there are governments on the moon, Mars, and a series of space stations called the Belt. Everyone really distrusts each other. So this new technology that enters the fold sort of tips everything upside down, if you will. So intense, so many likable characters to follow, so many twists and turns. 9th and final book. I can't wait to finish this series and wrap it up. It's been on my top shelf now for forever, and I'm so happy. I've been pretty consistent with coming back and finishing this series this year. It's been super rewarding. Another series I'm looking to wrap up going into the second part of this year is Joe Abercrombie's standalone novels. So the book I'm talking about is Red Country by Joe Abercrombie. If you're not familiar with the structure of Joe Abercrombie's fantasy works, they're all set in the same world, and there is the first trilogy, which is the First Law trilogy. Then there are 3 individual standalones that take place in the time period between his next series, which I'm really hoping to start before the end of this year. I just read The Heroes a month or so ago, and I loved it. Like maybe one of my favorite books of the year. It really caught me by surprise. So it made me extra excited to pick up this third and final standalone novel. Sort of has a quest Wild Wild West vibe to it, which also really calls out to me. And this follows our main character Shy. And Shy had hoped to have left her bloody past in the past, long buried away from her new reality amongst her family. However, though, she'll have to resharpen some of her put away weapons to get her family back. And now she's setting out on a quest in the far country, which is a lawless land, and her only companion to come with her is her no good, useless stepfather. But turns out her stepfather also has a secret hidden past as well. Now these two characters are setting out into the wilderness together to try to save their family, and I think also to sort of overcome this quest storyline together. I love unlikely characters coming together. I love quest storylines, as I've already established, and just I've really been enjoying Joe Abercrombie's writing so much this year. It's the perfect combination of bloody, gory, gray morality with the characters, which always makes things super unpredictable. His books are also often funny and over the top, but still has kind of an emotional lean to them too. Like I really feel like he has so many elements that just work so well together, and I'm really excited to pick this one up. The next book that's on my TBR is Belladona by Adeline Grace. I have had some incredible luck with YA like ambiance stories this past month. I read Maureen Johnson's new book and I loved it. I read Where the Dark Stands Still and loved it. So I thought, let's add another vibey YA novel on my TBR. I've had this book on my shelf now for about a year, and it's super popular, and honestly I feel like based on the inputs it's something I would really enjoy. Genre-wise, I feel like this book is definitely a mix of things: fantasy, gothic, horror, mystery, all of those things I personally really enjoy. In it we're following our main character Signa, who's 19 years old and has been orphaned since she was a young child. She's basically been passed around to various guardians and family members who were supposed to take care of her, but all of them were much more interested in her fortune than actually being a good guardian, and a lot of them all met untimely ends. At the beginning of this story, she's been passed on to a reclusive and eccentric family called the Hawthorns. She's moved into their crumbling but glittering mansion. All of the figures in this house are a little bit strange, and something off is sort of happening on the property. The father is mourning the recent passing of his wife by throwing wild parties. The son is trying to grapple with the loss of this family's reputation. The daughter is suffering from a mysterious illness. But when the ghost of this recently passed dead wife begins to haunt the mansion, saying she was poisoned, it's up to our main character to figure out what in the world is going on. Again, this just sounds like it has such a fun combination of a variety of things. I've already heard such fantastic things about this. It also has a sequel, I want to say. So I just feel like this could be a really fun YA book with all of the best fall vibes, and I can't wait to read it. Another book I've had since last year and I've also just heard really good things about that feels perfect for the fall season is Ink Blood Sister Scribe by Emma Torres. This book centers a magical library, two estranged half-sisters who have to come back into each other's life, family, loyalty, and protecting your family legacy. This follows the story of two sisters who have basically been tasked their entire life to protect and cherish this collection of magical books. These books can give people a range of abilities, from being able to walk through walls, manipulate the elements, and also give untold knowledge. And both of these sisters have been raised with the perspective of revering and protecting these books from like the larger population, if you will. However, though, due to a variety of reasons, both of these sisters have not been in contact with each other for a long time. However, though, after the unexpected passing of their father, after he was found reading a book that neither had ever seen before, they have to come back into each other's lives to protect and also maintain this library together. I feel like this is going to have a really interesting magical component. I always love a library setting, and I also appreciate that I feel like there's going to be some really interesting family dynamics in this book as well. So emotional, magical, a mystery. I'm so curious. The next book that's on my TBR is my IRL book club pick, and a book that I feel like is going to bridge like summer and fall reading perfectly, and that book is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. Liz Moore is one of my personal favorite authors. She writes such a great mix of like literary fiction meets thrillers. Her plots are super engaging. Her writing style is stunning, and I just really appreciate her character work and her concepts in general. This book really calls out to me, and literally every review I've seen has been so positive. Basically everyone says it's like unputdownable, so I'm just very looking forward to picking this up. This is a multi-threaded, multi-POV story centering a summer camp and the community that surrounds this camp. camp. One morning in August in 1975, the camp discovers that there is a missing bunk and therefore a missing child. The child that occupies this bunk, though, is no ordinary child, but is actually the daughter of the owner of this summer camp. And 14 years prior to this specific event, another child of this family actually disappeared in the same woods, never to be seen again. This kicks off a very frantic search trying to find this lost child, Barbara, but we also begin to understand the secrets and the mystery behind this family, and also the complex relationship between the community and the blue-collar workers of this town and this very rich and privileged camp that exists within it. Again, I feel like this is just going to be an absolute page turner. Some of my friends in the club who've already read this have really enjoyed it so far, so I can't wait to pick this up soon. Next book on my TBR is House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. This is a horror fantasy novel centering vampires, and honestly, I'm a vampire lover, and this time of year is just perfect for that supernatural creature. And in the story, we're introduced to our main character, Marion Shaw. Marion Shaw has been raised in the slums, and she dreams of being able to escape the city, all of the miseries that it contains, but she also knows that she does not have the means to do so until one day she comes across a very peculiar advertisement in the paper, which is describing that they are in need of a blood maid. Marion decides to take up this very unusual and dangerous occupation, but it also provides her the ability to gain access to this upper echelon society of some very privileged, blood-drinking individuals, if you will, and I think things get creepy and strange and atmospheric from there. It's giving like Interview with a Vampire vibe aesthetics, but obviously a whole new story, and I'm so curious to see how it's going to unfold. I love like Vampire Society and how screwed up it can be. It can be so spooky. I can't wait to read this. Another book on my TBR is a bit of a chunky one, but one I feel like I'm just gonna really enjoy. I've been honestly looking at it now ever since I added it to my shelf, and I'm just really excited to read it, and that is The Bright Sword by Lev Grossman. This is Lev Grossman's like reinterpretation or reimagining of a King Arthur tale and story. As we've already established, I love any like reframing of classic tales, and this one in particular sounds compelling, obviously going to have a beautiful writing style and just full of characters that are going to take me by surprise. This story opens with a gifted young knight named Colum arriving in Camelot with the hopes of joining King Arthur's Round Table, but unfortunately for him, a recent large battle has just occurred a few weeks prior, resulting in the death of not only King Arthur, but most of the primary knights that were involved with this table. All that's left are kind of the misfits and outcasts of this table, which is obviously not what Colum was expecting when he was planning to arrive here. Now it's up to this like unexpected group of people to rebuild Camelot and also protect it from any unexpected dangers that may arise. Again, I just feel like this book is going to be super engaging. I really like Lev Grossman's writing style, so I'm just really excited to have a new book by him to check out and read. The last two books on my TBR are continuations of series I have started already because I'm trying to be better about that. The first is The Cage of Dark Hours by Marina Lostetter. This is the sequel to The Helm of Midnight, which I read a few years ago now and really liked. And honestly, if you're looking for like a fantasy horror thriller combination, this is the series to check out. Perfect for this time of year. This is a story that's absolutely bone-chilling, set in a fantasy world where the magic system has to do with magical objects. In particular, there are these things called death masks where people can basically imbue them with their abilities, knowledge, technical skill, and after they pass, people can put on these masks to gain access to this knowledge. And we follow our main character, who is a regulator whose job is to regulate these magical objects and remove items that are dangerous to the population at large. And at the beginning of the story, a very dangerous death mask is stolen, and it's the death mask of a prominent serial killer. And when his marked killings begin to haunt the street once again, things get complicated very, very quickly. Again, we got serial killers, we got dangerous magical objects. It's also a really propulsive tale because it's kind of a whodunit thriller-esque story. I'm really excited to see where the story is going to take off with the sequel, but the first one had me on the edge of my seat and also like had my heart racing a bit. The last book that's on my September TBR is The Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik. Honestly, I'm a little embarrassed I have not completed this trilogy yet, especially because I read the first two back to back and loved them so much. I have a really bad habit of like prolonging the ends of series because I don't want them to be over. but it's time for me to finally circle back and complete this. And I love this series so much. Another perfect fall read fantasy series. It has to do with like a dark and dangerous magic school, a grumpy sort of main character forced to make friends. It has a very intense plot line with dangerous monsters and students having to work together to survive. It just has such a great ambiance, but really lovable characters at the end of the day too, which I appreciate. It's a great balance of like dark and light, if you know what I mean. This book is set in a fantasy world where there is magic and magic users, but there's also incredibly dangerous monsters that roam the land that attack and target these magic users. And the most dangerous time for any magician in their life is when they're a child and when they don't have control over their magical abilities. Therefore, all of the magical community came together and created this thing called the Schoolomance, which is a magical school that exists in this alternate realm, if you will. Here, the students can go, hopefully learn to use their magic as safely as possible, but just because it's safer than the real world, it does not mean the school itself is safe, because monsters roam the hallways, making going to class an incredibly dangerous activity, creating a situation where students have to like band together, make alliances. It's incredibly cutthroat and very, very toxic. We follow our main character, who's sort of a self-described loner. She's not really interested in making friends or alliances, and she also has intensely powerful magical abilities, but her magic is trying to make her be evil when she has no interest in doing that. Very funny dynamic that I think works so well. Over the course of the series, you see our main characters sort of make friends, make allies, sort of transform the overall nature of the school. It's so good. I love this series so much, and I'm excited to see how it's going to wrap up. I'm emotional, I'm nervous, but it's going to be a great time. Alrighty guys, that is my September TBR. Please let me know down below some books you hope to get to this month, as I would love to know, and I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!